So my father, when he goes to the supermarket on the weekends, he takes me with him, and whenever we're going through, after we're done, we go to checkout, and he always uses the self checkout. And I'm always like, Daddy, why you use the self checkout? We don't need to use the self checkout. There's people there. There's that nice, pretty girl in the corner, with the kind of low cut shirt that will gladly check out our stuff for her. And wouldn't it be nice to go over and use her instead of a stupid robot or something, And and my dad's like, no, we need to use the self checkout. I need to do it myself. I'm like, why? Why are you scared? And I'm like, well, I just want to go over and use it. And I'm like, well, what the heck? And I'm like, fine. So my dad goes over and he's like, okay. So he gets the first item out of the cart and it's like, cat litter or something. And he takes it and he puts it there and scans it and then he puts it in the bag. And then after he's like, he says like, baggage in wrong area or whatever. And we're like, what the heck, dude? Okay? This stupid woman made on a computer is telling us that we're putting it in the wrong area when we're putting it in the right area. And we're like, why, this is supposed to be quicker than the normal thing, to free up human labor, it's just taking twice as long. So so we just go through that, and eventually it lets us do our thing, and we're almost done. And then my daddy, he tries to do some credit cards. He tries to use his credit cards or coupons. That's what they're called here, coupons. And he puts his coupons into the machine thing that uses the coupons, and they don't work. They don't work. They just go in there, and there's some sort of little error on the screen. So my daddy looks over to the woman who's watching, this whole thing, and she's there to like fix the machines if they go, crazy or whatever. And she's just standing there, kind of looking around. She's like, big overweight woman. That's how they are here. Lots of McDonald's, that sort of thing. And she's just like standing there, looking around. And my dad's kind of like, looking over and sort of waving at her. She looks at us three freaking times. Three freaking times. She doesn't do a thing. She just keeps looking around. I think she's mad. I think she thinks that my dad's trying to, ask her out long distance or something. Waving at her or something. I don't know. I don't really know what kind of things go on, but so finally my father, he gets her attention, and she comes over, and she looks at the machine a minute, and she just presses this one button up at near the top, and everything goes through. The coupon goes through fine. We save 25% off on whatever random garbage that nobody buys, and we go and we're just kind of looking. Anyway, finally my daddy, he gets his credit card, puts it in, and he chooses the payment type, takes all the stuff, puts it back in the cart with the bags. No one yells at us. We're like, oh yeah, we are home free. And then the machine starts beeping behind us like, we've stolen something, but we don't care. We're leaving. We're leaving. We don't really care what it thinks of us. So finally we get all the way outside, and then the dad's cell phone rings, and he picks it up, and it's my mother, and she wants him to buy something else. And we're like, we just went through the store. So she tells me to go back inside. He tells me to go back inside and get some bread. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but use the self-checkout. And I'm like, I don't want to use the self-checkout. He's like, use the self-checkout, or you don't get to get any dinner for a week. So I go back inside, and I go to where the bread is, and I get the bread, and I go back, and I'm like, should I go to the corner with the actual checkout with the pretty woman who actually is a human being, not the stupid computer? No, I decide to be obedient and be a good son to my father. So I go over to the self-checkout again, and I put the thing on there. I take out the $10 my dad gave me to pay for it. So first, when I get there, I have to wait behind this woman who's trying to use it. Okay, this young woman, and she's got 4 kids with her, and she's really annoyed. I think she's starting to regret, getting married and, having children before she has her college education finished. But whatever. And so finally she leaves, and I get into line, and I put it in there, and I try to put the $10 in, and it goes in, it just comes back out, and I'm like, what the heck, this machine, we just can't win with it. Okay, so I put it back in, and it spits it back out again. So finally I go over and I ask her if she can help me. And she gets wicked mad, like, she's not supposed to be working or something. I think she's playing, like, Angry Birds on her iPhone or something. And I'm like, well, come over and help me. You're supposed to be working here. She comes over, and she helps me, and eventually, all of a sudden, the little thing goes to the little Windows screen, or whatever, because apparently they use Windows, which is probably part of the problem there. And all of a sudden, they show the blue screen thing, and the whole thing crashes. So then I have to go over to the normal checkout, and she said she'll check me out. And then I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to be checked out by the fat lady. I want to be checked out by the pretty girl in the corner. Okay, that would be a lot more pleasant. So then you just so I'm just finally I get the bread and I go back outside. So when I get in the car on the way home, I'm like, Dad, why do we have to go through the checkout all the time? And he's like, don't question me. And I'm like, well, I want to know. I'm just curious. And he says, well, when I go through the normal checkout, the people who work there are very stupid, and they will put, my bread in a bag, and they put, the grape juice on top of it, or, or like, the carton of milk, or, the cat litter, and they'll crush my bread flat, and then I'll have to have, little cubes of wheat for the rest of my week and my lunch. And I say, well, Dad, you could just ask them not to do that. I mean, it's called talking to them and saying it. I mean, I guess they might get a little grumpy, but if you ask them not to, then they probably won't do it. But my dad, he won't, so I go home and I do an experiment. I get some of his bread out of the cabinet, I put it on the floor, and I stomp that bread. I stomp it till it's flat. Almost. Certainly as much as any grape juice would do. Or, cat litter, or whatever heavy stuff he's talking about. So then I put the bread back in the cabinet. I come down the next morning, the bread is back to normal shape and size. So, really, no harm would be done. But every time we go to the store, we have to use the self-checkout and spend 8 hours in line, and then wait for the fat woman to come over and fix the stupid, credit card coupon dispenser, or, the whatever. And one time, this retarded little kid in front of us, he went up and started it in Spanish. So my dad and I had to reconcile the 2 years each that we took a Spanish class to try to figure out how the heck to get through it. We couldn't figure out to restart it, and the fat lady was ignoring us. So finally, my dad leaves the store swearing, and I ask him, we could just use it, and he's like, no, I don't want my bread crushed. And I'm like, well, Dad, you're never gonna get your way. And I don't know. I really don't know. I just don't know.